اللهم صل على محمد. بسم الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يوصينا معه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون، الذي لا يدركه بهد الهمم ولا يناله غوث الفتن، الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نات موجود ولا وقت محدود ولا أجل ممدود، فترى الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته ووتد بالصخور ميدان الأرض. ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين بالقاسم محمد. وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن على أعدائهم أجمعين من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المبين وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذ ابتلى إبراهيم ربه بكلمات فأتمهن قال إني جاعلك للناس إماما قال ومن ذريتي قال لا ينال عهد الظالمين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Dear brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before we begin, I just want to thank all of you for inviting me here to do these lectures on the Shahadat of Amir al-Mu'mineen al-Islam and Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. And I want to thank Maulana Nawab. He's here, and I find it kind of difficult that he's here and I'm lecturing when in reality he has more knowledge than me. But inshallah, I pray, and hopefully he prays, that these lectures are successful and you all benefit from these lectures. But when it comes to this individual, when it comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen al-Islam, we see that one of the individuals that was mazloom throughout his life was Amir al-Mu'mineen al-Islam, to the point where when it comes to his patience, then some of the narrations, they say that patience came on the door of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and it itself said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I am I am astonished about how patient you are. When it comes to this individual, a lot of people have questions. When we Shias, we say that Imam Ali al-Islam, he is the first Imam. One of the questions that gets asked is, if Imamat is so important, why doesn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talk about it in the Quran? If Imamat is so important, why doesn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refer to Imamat in the Quran? What proof do we have that Imam Ali alayhi salam, he's the first Imam? And when we talk about Imamat, there's a difference in how we believe Imamat to be and a difference in how the rest of the Muslims believe Imamat to be. When we speak about Imamat, we're talking about an individual who is chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is a representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we speak about Imamat, we say that Imamat is what? A branch of Nabuwat. Meaning what? Meaning that there's some things that Imamat has, which also Nabuwat has. But there's a difference between Imamat and Nabuwat. Nabuwat is, or Nabi is that individual, Rasul is that individual that brings the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A Nabi brings the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. An Imam, his job is to make sure that those laws are followed. His job is to make sure that those laws are within the world. Meaning what? Meaning that everyone who believes in this prophet, they're following these laws to the T, the way that they're supposed to be followed. When it comes to Imamat, the rest of the Muslims, they don't have this understanding of Imamat. Their idea of Imamat is just a leader. End of story. Our idea of Imamat is not just a leader, but this leader, he's leading us, not just physically, not our physical well-being, but also our spiritual well-being. And this is what's most important, our spiritual well-being. Because at the end of the day, when you look at the Quran, when you read the narrations of the Holy Prophet himself, what did he come for? He came to better our morals. The Holy Prophet himself, he says, what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent me last as messenger so that he could perfect human morals. The Holy Prophet's left this world now. After the Holy Prophet leaves, who is supposed to make sure that his ummah stays on the right path? Who is supposed to make sure? This is why we have this concept of imamat. This is why we have this concept in our school of thought about a successor to the Prophet. Now, when it comes to the successor, are there some qualities that this successor needs? Or no, can anyone be a successor to the Prophet? One of the criteria, when you look at imamat, this verse that I started this lecture off with, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself, he says what about Hazrat Ibrahim? They asked, where is imamat in the Quran? Where is imam? If imamat was so important, why doesn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speak about imamat? He does speak about imamat in the Quran. He does. And whenever he speaks about it, in this verse, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he's speaking to Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, what did he say? We've made Ibrahim an imam. For who? Mankind. An imam for mankind. And this uhda of imamat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself, he says that this is one of my uhdas. Meaning what? Meaning that imamat can only and only be given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This verse of the Quran, it clearly states that this uhda is to be given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that means what? That means that you and I are not to be able to make imams. If we make an imam, that would be our imam, but that wouldn't be the imam chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we follow those individuals that we've taken to be imams, that we've taken to be leaders, we're not guaranteed that they're going to guide us to the right path. We're not. Because when you look at the imams that the majority of Muslims took, for example, the first Khalifa, they consider him to be imam, leader. What was the first thing that he said when he gave his sermon? The first thing he said was what? That I'm able to make mistakes. Shaitan, he's with me, I'm able to make mistakes. If you see that I make a mistake, it's your duty to correct me. That's what the first Khalifa said. If that's what the first Khalifa said, and he's supposed to be an imam, the imam is the one who's supposed to guide me, not me guide the imam. If I'm guiding the imam, then I know more than the imam. I know better than the imam. Why would I follow him? Why would I follow him? Two, when you look at the second Khalifa, you have so many narrations, even in the Sunni school of thought, where some of the narrations, they state what? That the path that Umar used to walk on, Shaitan used to remove himself from that path. Shaitan used to remove himself from that path. So it means what? Meaning that he himself is walking on the path of Shaitan. Why would I follow someone who's walking on the path of Shaitan? That individual who's walking on that path of Shaitan, if he's my imam, he's going to lead me where? To hell. He's not going to lead me towards salvation. He's going to lead me towards hellfire. So you understand that us choosing imams is something different. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choosing imams is something different. When it comes to the imams that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses, He doesn't choose anyone. No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself, He has criteria. The Holy Prophet, he himself cannot choose his successor. The Holy Prophet does not have the right to. The prophets do not have right to choose their successors. And this is what's amazing. Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, what does he do? He prays to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his brother Harun. That was it. That's the only thing that the prophets can do. They can't tell Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, we want you to make this individual our successor. No. That is only and only in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whoever is supposed to succeed the Prophet, that's in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Up until the Holy Prophet, what do you see? You see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is choosing the Khalifas. You see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making the people imams. You see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making people prophets. But after the Holy Prophet passes away, after our Prophet passes away, all of a sudden this comes into the hands of the ummah of the Prophet. How does this make sense? When you look at the Quran, you read the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whenever He uses the word Khalifa, He always has said, we have made them Khalifa. We have made them Khalifa. We have chosen Adam. We made all of these individuals. We made Dawood. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one choosing, then why was this choice taken away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why was it taken away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? When it comes to Imam, everyone needs to analyze one verse of the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that there will come a day when every individual will be called forth with their Imam. Thank you so much. There'll come a day when every individual will be called forth with their Imam. Why doesn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say that there'll come a day when every individual will be called forth with their prophet? Why? Because He knew that prophethood was going to end. He knew prophet was going to end. If prophet was going to end and the day of judgment is going to come after prophethood ends, that there needs to be an individual who continues that work of the prophet until the day of judgment. And when I say that work of the prophet, I mean guiding mankind, because that is one of the jobs of an imam, to guide mankind. So there needs to be an individual that will guide mankind until that day of judgment. And that individual is supposed to be the imam. That individual is supposed to be the imam. When we talk about imam, we have criteria. What is one of the first criteria for an imam to be an imam? Who can tell me? One of the criteria for prophethood and the criteria for the imam are the same. What do I mean? If someone was to make a claim that they're imam, would I not ask them for proof? If someone was to ask, or someone was to make the claim that they're a prophet, would I not ask them for proof? I would. What is the proof that they're supposed to give me? Mu'jiza. Miracle. Miracles are one of the proofs that this individual is a representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why is this a proof? If you're going to say that you're the representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who created everything, who has power over everything, then you yourself should be able to show me some of that power. You should be able to show me some of that power. Mu'jiza is one of them. Another criteria is what? That this individual who's been chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he has to be the most intelligent individual that exists, the most knowledgeable individual that exists. There can't be anyone that has more knowledge than them. That's a criteria for prophethood. That's a criteria for imamat. What's the third criteria? The third criteria for prophethood is infallibility. And that is the same criteria for imamat. But this infallibility, can you and I see infallibility? No, you and I can't see infallibility. Infallibility isn't a trait that you and I can see. So how are we going to know if this individual is infallible? How? Through their actions. Look at their actions. And the problem is that some of the Shias, they don't understand infallibility the way it's meant to be understood. When we say infallibility, we don't mean that they can't commit any sins. That's not what we mean. When we say infallibility, what we're saying is that they have the choice to do good or bad. But because they know the consequences of doing something bad, they refrain from doing it. They know the consequences. And every day, you and I, we practice this to a certain extent. What do I mean? You and I, we know the consequences of speeding. What will happen? If we get caught, we'll get fined. If we get caught, we'd go to jail. Or worse comes to worse, we get into an accident. Correct? Because we know the consequence of speeding, what do? We refrain from doing it. We refrain from doing it. We do this every day to a certain degree. The imams, the prophets, they know the consequences of every single sin. And because they know the consequence, what do? They refrain from doing it. Because our ulama say, look, if we were to say that the prophets and the imams, they don't even have the ability to sin, then what's the difference between them and, for example, an inanimate object? What's the difference between them and a tree? What would be the difference between them and a rock? Trees, rocks, they also don't have ability to. They don't have the ability altogether. So then what's the difference? This is why the ulama, they say that it's not that they don't have the ability, it's that they know the consequence of using that free will in that manner. And because they know the consequence, they refrain from it. 2, what's one of the reasons that you and I commit sins? We don't have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What's another reason that you and I commit sins? Amir al-Mu'mineen, he himself, he says one of the reasons that individuals commit sins is that they forget that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching them in that moment of sin. They forget that there's someone watching them in that moment. And when they forget, meaning what? They're not God conscious. And when they're not God conscious, that's when they commit their sin. When it comes to the prophets, when it comes to the imams, this doesn't apply to them. Why? Because they were God conscious from the time they came to this world to the time they leave. So when they're God conscious 24/7, how are they going to commit a sin? How are they going to commit a sin? If we were conscious about the government coming into our house, taking what we have, what would we do? We'd be upright citizens, would we not? Why? Because we're scared of the government. We'd be scared of the government. And we do everything. And you see, this is what's happening. This has happened before too. The ones that lived through 2001, you all know what I'm talking about. Where it was dangerous to be Muslim. Where everyone was fearing that, now the government they were coming into the mosque, they were reporting people. Everyone knows, the ones that are elder, they know. So what were people trying to do? They were trying to be as good citizens as they could. Why? Because they were afraid of the consequences. And this is the imams. They know what the consequences are. This is the reason that they don't commit any sins. When it comes to imams, one of the questions that gets asked, especially about Imam Ali alayhi salam, and these are the nights that we're commemorating Imam Ali alayhi salam, is that why did Imam Ali alayhi salam not rise up? Why didn't he rise up? Hatta Jabir Jofi, one of the companions of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad, he asked Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, Ya ibn Nasrullah, why didn't Imam Ali alayhi salam rise up? Why didn't your grandfather rise up? He was the one who had the most right to rise. He had the most right to rise. Why didn't he rise up? Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, the first thing he says was he didn't rise because he didn't have the support. He didn't have the support. And then Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he goes, have you not read the Quran? He goes, what do you mean? When it came to Hazrat Lut alayhi salam, what did Hazrat Lut alayhi salam say to his people? He says that if I had support, I would surely destroy all of you. If I had support, I would surely get rid of all of you. If I had support. And because Hazrat Lut did not have support, what was he to do? He stayed quiet. He left them alone. Yes, he did his tabligh. The same way Imam Ali, he did the tabligh that he needed to do. But for the most case, he left them alone. And then he goes, have you not read the Quran? Imam Sadiq is telling Jabir, have you not read the Quran? Do you not know what Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam said? Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam, he says to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, you see that I'm alone, I have no support. Help me. So Imam, he tells Jabir, Jabir, when the prophets themselves, when the prophets did not have support and they stayed quiet, what do you expect from the successor of the prophet? What do you expect from the successor of the prophet? The same thing with Imam Hassan alayhi salam's wilad just went. The same thing with Imam Hassan alayhi salam. When it comes to the Sulah that Imam Hassan wrote, it's the treaty that he signed. There's a narration in Bihar which states that Imam Hassan alayhi salam, when he was given that piece of paper, he came to the people of Kufa and he gave them a choice. He says, what do you want me to do? The hujjat, I want it to be complete on you. My proof, I want it to be complete on you. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to sign this peace treaty or do you want to wage war against Muawiyah? Do you know what they all said? They said, sign the peace treaty. Sign the peace treaty. Imam Hassan alayhi salam signed the peace treaty. Why? Why didn't he rise up? Because he told them, I want this to be proof against you on the day of judgment. He gave them a choice. They're the ones that decided that they wanted peace. From this itself, you understand what type of Shias they were. What type of Shias they were. and how much they had love for Imam Hassan, or how well they understood Imam to be. Let me ask all of you a question. If the Imam of the time was to be right here, and he gave you a choice between fighting and signing a peace treaty, what would you all choose? Please answer quickly. Peace treaty? Peace treaty? Peace treaty? Fight? All of you would choose one or the other. Isn't that correct? But is this what you're supposed to do when the Imam gives you an option? Or are you supposed to tell the Imam, Ya Rasulullah, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, you are my master, you know better than I do. You know better than I do. Whatever you think is best, that's what we will do. That's supposed to be the reply. So you understand the type of Shias that existed in the time of Imam Ali, Imam Hassan al-Islam, Imam Hussein al-Islam. These were the Shias that wanted what? Whatever they thought was best for them. Not what the Imam knew to be best for them. That's why Imam Ali al-Islam, he had to stay quiet. He didn't have the support. From the 12 people, 6 people, that was it. Hatta the Holy Prophet, he had said, Ya Ali, if you have 40 people, rise up and get your right. Rise up and get your. So from this you understand that Imam Ali alayhi salam did not even have 40 people on his side. This is why I said in the beginning that Amir al-Mu'mineen, when it comes to the Mazlumiyat of an Imam, we talk about Imam Hussein al-Islam. But Imam Hussein al-Islam had those companions because of which he went to battle with. He had those companions. Imam Ali al-Islam did not have those types of companions. This is why I said in the beginning that of the Imams, Imam Ali al-Islam is the most Mazloom Imam. Why? Because he didn't even have 40 companions to go out with him. Why? He comes back, him and Lady Zahra and the family, they're going out, and he sings salam. He sings salam. Lady Zahra, she goes, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, people aren't even saying salam to you. Amir al-Mu'mineen goes, Ya Zahra, leave alone or leave aside the fact that people aren't saying salam to me. Look at this, that they're not even answering my salam. Look at this, that they're not even answering my salam. When you know that saying salam is mustahab, but replying to that salam is wajib. This is what Amir al-Mu'mineen says. You look at Amir al-Mu'mineen, it's not as if he stayed quiet the way some of the scholars or some of the speakers portray Amir al-Mu'mineen to be. No, it's not like that. When Khilafat was taken away from Imam Ali, inshallah, these next few lectures that I'm doing, we're going to start with Imamat, we're going to go into Amir al-Mu'mineen, and by the end, we're going to go deeper into the esoteric Imam Ali al-Islam. But when it comes to Imam Ali al-Islam, it's not as if he stayed quiet the way some scholars, they portray him to be. No. When his Khilafat was taken away, he tells Abdullah ibn Abbas, he's taken away this Khilafat, he's wearing these clothes that are not fit for him. You'll see that until he dies, from the moment he's taken on this mantle until he dies, he will wish that he was never wearing this. Abdullah ibn Abbas, he goes, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, what do you mean? Imam Ali goes, there won't be a day when he sits on this minbar and people will come and ask him questions and he won't have a reply. He won't know the answer to those questions. He won't know. Madinatul Ma'ajiz by Sayyid Hashim Bahrani. In it, there's a narration where an individual, after the Khilafat was taken away, he comes and he asks Abu Bakr, are you truly the successor to the Prophet? He goes, what do you want? You don't look like you're from here. He goes, no, I'm not. But I have a question. If you answer this question, I'll believe you to be the rightful successor of the Holy Prophet. He goes, what's your question? He asks just a simple question. He goes, can you give me the complete tafsir of Surah Inna Anzalna? Can you give me the complete tafsir of it? from the beginning to the end. The narration, it says that Abu Bakr, he didn't know the tafsir of it. Who's he looking at? He's looking at Abdullah ibn Abbas. And he tells Abdullah ibn Abbas, answer him. That's when this individual, he says, I know who Abdullah ibn Abbas is. If I wanted to, I could have asked him myself. I'm not asking him, I'm asking you to tell me. I'm asking you to tell me. The narration, it goes on to say that Abu Bakr, he gets mad. He gets mad. When he gets mad, he curses. When he curses, this individual, he himself, he curses at Abu Bakr again. And he says what? He says that you've taken and sat on a place which was not rightfully yours. The rightful individual for this place, he's at home. And that's Ali ibn Abi Talib al-Islam. So we understand that there were people that lived in Imam Ali al-Islam's time that knew that Abu Bakr was not to be on that helm. Yet why didn't they rise? Salman Farsi was there. Why didn't he rise? Other companions, Miqdad, all these companions. Why? Because they didn't total the 40. Hatta our ulama, they say that in the time of Imam Ali alayhi salam, the true Shi'as, you could count them on your hands. That's it. When Imam Ali alayhi salam became Khalifa, those individuals that made Imam Ali alayhi salam Khalifa, did they believe him to be the Imam the way that you and I do? No. They just believed him to be a leader. That was it. That was it. And you see that they treated him the same way that they treated the previous leaders. Hatta they treated him worse, I should say. And why was that? Two reasons. One, it's because of the justice of Imam Ali alayhi salam. The Arabs, they did not like that Imam Ali alayhi salam was being completely just with everyone. Two, the Arabs did not like that individual was ruling over them who killed all of their ancestors. And this is exactly what Abu Bakr and Umar said to the other Muslims, to the other Arabs, to get Khilafat away from Imam Ali alayhi salam. They told him that you have to remember, it wasn't us that killed your ancestors. It wasn't us. It was Ali ibn Abi Talib. Do you want this individual to rule over you who killed your ancestors? And because of that, they left Imam Ali. Because of that, they left Imam Ali. So brothers and sisters, when it comes to this imamat is not something to be taken lightly. Why? Nabuwat ends. The prophethood of the prophets was not given to them until they accepted what? Do you all know? When the ahad was taken with the prophets, what was put in front of the prophets? The nabuwat, the risalat of the final messenger, and the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen. When they accepted both of those, that's when they were given ukhdas of prophethood. And the narrations, they say that the quicker they accepted them, the higher their status was. So of the prophets after the holy prophet, whose status is the highest? Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam. Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam. He was one of the foremost, one of the quickest to accept the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. And when it comes to this imamat, when it comes to this wilayat, inshallah, we'll look into it. This wilayat, this imamat, is nothing less than the wilayat and the imamat of the Holy Prophet. It's nothing less. Whatever the wilayat, the imamat of the Holy Prophet is, the last messenger is, that is the same wilayat, that is the same imamat that Imam Ali alayhi salam has. But brothers and sisters, when it comes to Imam Ali alayhi salam, his masa'ib do not start on the 19th of Ramadan. No, his masa'ib do not start when he was struck on the head while he was in sujood. Imam Ali alayhi salam's masa'ib, they start right after the Holy Prophet had passed away. Imam Ali alayhi salam's masa'ib, they start as soon as the first tear came down the eyes of Lady Zahra salawatullah alaiha. That's when Imam Ali alayhi salam's masayib start. When you look at Imam Ali alayhi salam, after the Holy Prophet passes away, the people of Medina, they come to Imam Ali and they complain to Imam Ali, Ya Ali, we can't go to sleep. Why? Either tell Zahra to either cry in the daytime or tell her to cry at night. Ya Ali, because she cries in the daytime and she cries at night, we can't go to sleep. Imam Ali, he comes back. Lady Zahra, she had just come back from the graveyard. When she comes back, Imam Ali, he meets her and he sees a smile on her face. And he says, Ya Zahra, I haven't seen a smile on your face since Rasulullah left this world. Why is it that you're smiling? That's when Lady Zahra, she says, Ya Amir al-Mumineen, I'm smiling. Why? Because just now I saw my father in my dream. I saw my father in my dream and he's welcoming me. That's when Amir al-Mumineen, when he tells Lady Zahra, Ya Zahra, the people of Medina, they're telling you to cry in the day or at night. That's when Lady Zahra, she tells him, Ya Ali, tell the people of Medina, they don't have to worry about me anymore. Why? Because I'm going to go see my father. I'm going to go see my father. Lady Zahra, she tells Amir al-Mu'minin, Ya Ali, can you tell Hassan and Hussein to leave the house? Tell them to go do ziyarat of their grandfather. Can you tell Kulsum and Zainab to leave the house? Tell the maid to take them. Ya Ali, I need to discuss with you some matters. Amir al-Mu'minin, now he looks at Lady Zahra and he asks her, Ya Zahra, what do you want to talk about? Ya Ali, the first thing I want to ask, we've been married for such a long time. Tell me, if I've done anything to offend you, please, I want you to forgive me. Amir al-Mu'minin, he starts to cry and he says, Ya Zahra, you've never done anything to offend me. Do not even think that you've done anything to offend me. That's when Lady Zahra, she says to him, Ya Amir al-Mu'minin, I'm about to leave this world. I want you to do a couple of things for me. Ya Zahra, what is it? What's your wasiyat? Ya Amir al-Mu'minin, one of the first things that I want you to do is my children, they're all young. I want you to remarry as soon as I leave this world. Why? Just so my children do not have or do not see that their mother is gone. Ya Amir al-Mu'minin, I want you to do another thing. Ya Amir al-Mu'minin, I want you to bury me in the darkness of the night. Why? Because I don't want those individuals to come to my grave and cry over me. Ya Amir al-Mu'minin, I want you to do one last thing. And Amir al-Mu'minin, that's when he cries, he goes, Ya Zahra, what do you want me to do? That's when Lady Zahra, she says, Ya Amir al-Mu'minin, after you bury me, I want you to stay on my grave for a few moments and I want you to cry over me. Amir al-Mu'minin, he says, Ya Zahra, I will do everything that you've asked me to do. I will cry over your grave, but on one condition. Ya Zahra, when I send you my salams, I want to hear the reply of that salam with my own ears. Why does Amir al-Mu'minin want to hear the reply of a salam, brothers and sisters? Why? Because for so long now, he's been saying salam to everyone in Medina, but there's no reply. He's hoping that his wife replies to him. Amir al-Mu'minin, he marries Lady Zahra, salawatullah anha. When he marries Lady Zahra, he sits there and he starts to cry. When he starts to cry, there's a phrase that he says, Ya Fatima kallimini ana Ali. Ya Fatima, please speak to me, I am Ali. That's when Lady Zahra, she says to Amir al-Mu'minin, Ya Ali, please, we want you to go back. I want you to go back. Why? Because Kulsum, she's falling down and she's crying. Ya Ali, please go back and tend to the children. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un wa la'natullahi ala qawmil kafirin. Matam Hussein.
पानी बहा खूब बहा बास का हो गया
शब ज़रबत माह रमज़ान अली का ये कहना है, ये जिंदगी बाद ज़हरा बहुदा शकिस्ता है। तेरे बाद ज़हरा मैं दिल सोज़ शकिस्ता, मैं दिल ज़ारो गिरफ्ता, खुदा निगहदार के मैं मुसाफिर शब जिंदादार, खुदा निगहदार के मैं पैकर दिल फिगार। या अली या अली या अली या अली या अली या अली। रोज़ो शब वीरानी जिंदगी जिंदानी, या अली या अली या अली या अली। रोज़ो शब वीरानी जिंदगी जिंदानी, जिंदगी बाद ज़हरा बाखुदा नहीं कटती, खुदा निगहदार के मैं मुसाफिर शब जिंदादार, खुदा निगहदार के मैं पैकर दिल फिगार। या अली या अली या अली या अली। हाय फातिमा ज़हरा सब्र कैसा पाया था, राज ज़ख्मी पहलू का मुझसे भी छुपाया था। मैं कभी भूल न पाया वो तेरा पहलू शकिस्ता, मैं चला सुए किरदिगार, खुदा निगहदार के मैं मुसाफिर शब जिंदादार, खुदा निगहदार के मैं पैकर दिल फिगार। या अली 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 पर मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु